There's something that I've been putting off for a very long time. So here's the situation, alright? I have got about 1 billion things that I need to do in my base. I've been putting a lot of them off, and they've been stressing me out, they keep me up at night, and I just want to get them done. But I've been making videos for quite some time now. You know, I started my YouTube channel in 2012, so I've been at this for 8 years, and I know when something isn't entertaining to watch. And everything that I want to do is not very entertaining to watch. Frankly, alright, it's incredibly dull to watch. So I'm going to do some video editing wizardry, and I'm going to smash all of it into as little time as possible, while still maintaining roughly what's going on, so you can see what I'm up to. Does that sound good? I think that sounds good. Let's crack on with it. Premiere Pro, boot up the engines. I don't know what that means either. I now feel 3,000 times better. Now, it did take me a good few hours to get everything cleared up and this entire place looking actually presentable, but it looks incredibly presentable. It looks great. This actually feels like a finished area now. And I know I've said that so many times, it's always getting embarrassing, but seriously, this feels done. Am I a tiny bit embarrassed that I had these 2 shulker boxes left there, which weren't meant to be there? They're not part of the design. Yes I am. But other than those, this place is completely cleared of clutter. There is nothing in this area that isn't meant to be here. And that feels wonderful. And better yet, every single resource that I have is either in the shulker boxes, inside my ender chest, or inside these chests right here. There's no hunting through chests there, or hunting through chests here, or hunting through chests in my storage system. I know exactly where everything is. I'm at peace with the world. I'm in total zen. So now it's time to crack on with a totally new project. You see this rather horrendous looking thing that I have over here just off to the edge of my base, really making the whole thing look bad? Well, I think this could be the final day for it. I was actually thinking about removing it during the time lapse, but I thought I would give it a proper send off because I plan on recreating this sort of system, or at least the concrete conversion system, over in my industrial district. I have an entire space earmarked for what on earth is that thing? Like, seriously, what is this thing? Is this a brewing station? That's insane. Anyway, as I was saying, I have an entire area earmarked out in my industrial district as the Tnt Blast Zone, and this seems like a pretty good thing to install over there. We made how many diamonds from just telling people to change their skins back using the Minecraft menu? 45 diamonds. I mean, that is a bit of a scam. I do feel a little bit bad for that one, to be honest. But with that being said, looking at this, it seems like there's plenty of diamonds to go around. Anyway, moving on from that, it turns out I've been really daft, which I'm sure is absolutely no surprise to any of you, but I genuinely thought I'd built a fully automatic cobblestone farm here already, but I haven't. There's just an empty space where it should be. So we're going to crack on with that, but first, I need to do this a little bit better. You see, no matter how hard I try, some of this wood is getting blown up too early and things are breaking and stuff like that. So we're going to rework this system by moving this Tnt duplicator a little bit further back. Please tell me I've got millions of pistons. I do have millions of pistons, but they're the wrong type of piston. That's never happened before. So I'm hoping that this should be part 1 of the process. Let me just get this redstone line in. That's that. We can actually remove a repeater from here. And push up, push across. Good stuff. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm splitting up my trees. So the issue was that bits up at the top were landing on bits down at the bottom, and then when the TNT exploded, we were losing those bits because, well, they got exploded. That was genuinely the worst explanation ever, but we're going to roll with it. What we really want to do is we want to maximize the number of wood blocks that are landing down in this water. That is like the key for keeping this thing efficient. So as I say, I'm splitting up my tree. So we've got 3 from down at the bottom that are being pushed across into this system, and then we've got 2 from up at the top that are going to be pushed downwards and then across, and they're also going to be exploded in a separate block. But all of that relied on this system working, which it looks like it all does, and it's relatively quick. Now this part should be stage 2 of the process. All I have to do is hook up this piston right here to this piston line right here, and don't worry, it all looks very muddly and confusing, but it actually isn't that muddly and confusing. I just ran out of redstone dust, how frustrating. But what this part of the redstone circuit does is this is the second split part of the circuit. So this deals with the bottom 3 blocks of the tree, this deals with the top 2 blocks of the tree. So those 2 blocks come across like this, they then get pushed down, pushed across, and then pushed across here, and then they will be in line with this block of wood. So then we're going to get a 3 high block of wood that is going to be pushed towards the TNT, and that is really going to increase the chances of the logs having a clean travel from their blow up point down into the water, as opposed to getting caught on logs that haven't exploded. Now I almost did something incredibly stupid then and just gave it a test run without actually moving this TNT explosion device, which would have, well, I mean, it's quite clear that all of that is basically in the blast zone. That would have ruined my day. Thankfully, disaster was avoided because my singular brain cell decided to bang its cymbal, and I quickly realized that that was probably a bad move. So now we have to relocate all of this, I would say maybe 3, 4, potentially 5 blocks over. Oh, except my singular brain cell has failed me as I forgot to take note of where it was originally and also how high it was. So oh, no. I did a little bit of investigative work looking at previous recordings of this place, getting a rough idea of how high up it was, and yeah, I think I've got it right. So, I mean, if I activate this thing, it should now all start working. TNT has dropped. And I mean, that seems like it's the right height, maybe? Yes. That is actually perfect. I've nailed it. Clearly, mitosis has occurred in my brain, and my singular brain cell has become 2. Anyway, that's enough science. Let's do a test. And that test involves me just standing planting saplings for half an hour and seeing if anything weird happens with the farm. And thankfully, despite an extremely shaky start where everything completely broke itself, it all actually functioned really nicely, and everything worked properly, which is always extremely good when it comes to building up these industrial farms. So let's take a look at the results. And they are extremely good, extremely good, extremely good, extremely good. That is a lot of stacks of wood for just half an hour of right clicking. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, I was watching that time-lapse screen and I saw very rare occasions where blocks got destroyed. For the most part, it was all falling down nicely. Everything was efficient. I'm underwater. But, you know, I can't help but notice that we have gotten a little bit distracted. It's been an extremely fun project, making this farm considerably more efficient than it once was, but this is not why we came over here. Not at all. I need to build up a cobblestone generator. That's my main goal. What am I doing? Looking up cool designs on the internet. That's what I'm doing. And the search wasn't particularly very long because I ended up on ILMANGO's channel, and this rather beautiful monstrosity right here seems right up my street. So I think this is going to work. We're just going to have to make a few little modifications to this area up at the top here. But I don't think it's anything that I'm not going to be able to manage, so let's get building. With that being said, there is one glaring question. Originally, I was just planning on building one half of the cobblestone generators. There'd be one half pushing the cobblestone in from this side, because of course we've got the wood farm over here, so we can't do it over there. But then I've thought, you know, a concrete generator or a concrete converter isn't really that big. So that could still fit in this space, and then we could dedicate the space over here to an absolutely enormous cobblestone generator. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even think there's a question here. It's quite obvious what I'm going to do, isn't it? Let's build the monstrous cobblestone farm. So, first things first is the water collection system down at the bottom, which is a 15 by 15 area. And that's all looking good, but let's face it, it's relatively boring as well, so let's crack on with the interesting bits, and hopefully not die in the process. Now, the interesting bit is, of course, all of the piston mechanics and things, and to be honest with you, this is quite like a brute force redstone contraption, in that you're just relying on the number of cobblestone generators that there are. So on each side we've got 7 times 4, which if I do some very quick maths, I should remember this, 28, and then that's times 2 because we're going to have 2 modules. That's 56 cobblestone generators in total, and then you get about 3 fires for every single TNT that drops, so that's nearly 170 cobblestone for every single TNT explosion. That's a lot. I do almost feel a little bit bad that this farm is going to be hidden by this monstrous kelp farm that I have. There's just a gigantic wall of water between my eyeballs and the cobblestone farm. I guess it will be a nice surprise for anyone who decides to peek behind it. Anyway, lava is going in, and this is always a little bit precarious because there is a fairly high likelihood that I'm just going to somehow end up in it. You know what? I have zero faith in myself. I'm actually going to cover this thing up. I'm going to child-proof my cobblestone generator. Cool. Okay, that's one side all in place. Looks absolutely tiny in the context of my industrial district. Now it's time to get the other half in place so it looks a little bit more impressive. And in the words of Mr. Joe Hills, tam skip. So with this lava bucket placement, that marks the end of the boring bit of the interesting bit. This is slightly more interesting than building that incredibly boring bit, but it's definitely the boring part of doing the interesting bit. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure. All I know is I have forgotten one incredibly important detail, which of course is my child protection. Us members of the single brain cell squad are very aware that this is actually the most important part of the process. Right, now for the actually interesting bit, which is getting all the TNT duplicators and redstone timings in place. Now all of this stuff is really quite familiar to me because of course I've built a ton of TNT duplicators in my time, including one in today's Hermitcraft episode. But one thing that I can't help but notice is there's a few smart things in this design. First off, only using fence gates to catch the TNT, so that's quite minimal. Also, this seems to be a thing to align the TNT so that there's no variety in actually where it drops. And not only that, but the TNT duplicator is kind of flipped around, which makes it a little bit smaller and also a little bit easier to deal with. I have no way to describe this other than smart. And these are the reasons why ILMANGO has not been invited to join the single brain cell squad. Having built up all of the redstone circuitry, I've concluded that I can probably make this thing a tiny bit more self-contained so it doesn't cut into more farming space. With that being said, it is always a little bit scary compacting a build from a member of the SciCraft server because you're always worried that you've forgotten some kind of detail that is incredibly important. God, that cuts it fine, doesn't it? I mean, that feels like it should be blowing stuff up. Somehow it's not. This is quite something. We're on the home straight now. Final stage is to connect up the cobblestone generators to the redstone clock so that we are actually generating cobblestone to be blown up by our very last minute TNT duplicator dropper. I'm never not nervous watching this thing. It feels like there's going to be too much stone generated and the TNT is going to land on top of it and just blow everything up. But then just in time, it all gets destroyed and everything is good. Right, now I ran that thing for the duration of the clip and what on earth? What? Just stop this now. Stop it. That is obscene how much cobblestone we got. That is obscene. No, this should be illegal. I had to know. I had to know. And it's... What on earth is this? What is... What? Who needs this much cobblestone? Frankly, I'm disgusted in the best possible way. Now, I was kind of in two minds as to whether to give this thing its own dedicated storage system down by the cobblestone generator or to put it up in the big super module. And I think the super module is probably the way to go because I like the idea of just having a switch here that just is like all the cobblestone, bonk, and then it all just starts flowing in. All the cobblestone is, of course, in caps and maybe... No, it's just in caps. There's nothing else I can do on a sign. Now, facilitating all of this shouldn't be too difficult. I've already ran the water stream out from the bottom of it. It just needs to run into this water stream right here, which involves a little bit of item elevator action, which is nothing that is going to keep me up at night. Except for the fact that I never, ever seem to have any form of soul sand on me. Ever. Like, whatever happens. And instead of literally just going into the nether, I choose to just look in all the random shulker boxes that I can find around here, and what a win. That's the problem with searching through random junk chests, is that it occasionally pays off, and it pays off frequently enough that you do it every single time you can't find something. Operation Item Transportation has been completed. Now it's Operation Activate the Cobblestone Generator. Fetch me my yellow concrete. Oh, my inventory was full. I couldn't shift click it in. Ah, this is embarrassing. That looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. And I've got my lever in place, which explains to everyone what is up. So, flick the lever to acquire all the cobble. And I mean all. Warning, do not run for long because cobble. I think that explains everything. Now I'm going to download some more RAM and let's activate this thing for a little while. See what happens. Redstone lamp is on. Okay, that should mean... Yes, things are activating. Things are activating. This is good, this is good. This is good. That sounds good. That looks good. This all feels good. Now, the fact that I grossly underestimated the number of items that were flowing into this maybe wasn't so good. I mean, I have got 15 sets of chests. So there are 15 individual hoppers that are picking up the cobblestone being generated by this farm. And it's still not enough. So it's still not enough. So I actually need to make use of all of them. Like every single hopper in this entire quarter is now being used for cobblestone. And it still feels like it might not be enough. That's nuts. This thing is just truly bonkers. But cool. Incredibly, incredibly cool. This is what the industrial district is all about. Right, I'm going to do the finishing touches, you know, item frames and everything like that. But I am satisfied. And yet, we still are not done with TNT-based farming. I'm so in the mood for it, okay? I'm absolutely loving it. I've had so much fun building up these TNT farms. There's just one more. And it's the one that I initially set out to build at the start of today's Hermitcraft episode. You know, we've taken a few detours. You know, we built this. We over-engineered this. We over-engineered this to the maximum. This is wicked. Okay, and then we built this rather ridiculous machine, which is also pretty over-engineered. We almost lost sight of the initial goal of today's Hermitcraft episode, which was to build up the concrete converter. And I mean, it should be pretty easy, I hope. But we are going to do a little bit of over-engineering. To the redstone testing world we go. So, obviously, first things first, we've got ourselves a 0-tick smart piston, which is going to be where we're actually placing in all of the concrete. That kind of goes without saying. I want to do something else from there, though. You see, normally from there, I have a bunch of other 0-tick smart pistons that are facing downwards, that then push the concrete down, and then the TNT falls next to it. But we're not going to have space for that because of the way that the redstone is configured for the Tnt Duplicator. It's off to the wrong side, basically. So that means that we're not able to do that. So I'm going to have to do some rethinking here. And I'm just wondering, I feel like you can't do this, but I want to know, can we have a line of 0-tick pistons? Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? Okay, so you can have 2. That's very weird. After a lot of head scratching, I think I've just had a pretty major brainwave. All of this needs to just get out of here. And I've got to say, I'm actually pretty proud of it. I solved a lot of problems here using just pure logic. So the fact that we can only have one smart piston, that's fine. Just make use of slime blocks and then don't convert the concrete powder into hardened concrete before you push them across. So that way you can use gravity to actually detach them from the slime blocks. And then we can push them down into just a regular smart piston system. So then we don't need to worry about 0-ticks anymore. These are just regular 1-tick pistons, which are considerably easier. And that is what the system is running on. So, yeah, I'm chuffed. So let's get this thing constructed on the Hermitcraft server. However, embarrassingly, now that I'm here, had another brainwave, which means that, well, my original design, you know, the one that I didn't spend multiple hours designing just now, will work perfectly. And it involves, instead of just running the cobblestone or the concrete across the back here, it involves just running it along the side like that. Just along this side here. That's close enough to the TNT, really close to the TNT, in fact, to work perfectly, flawlessly, in fact. I'm going to leave all of my research and development in the video, and you will have just watched it because I genuinely think it's interesting, and I genuinely think I came up with something cool there, even if it's not fit for my current purpose. Or at least, it is fit for the purpose. Like, it totally would have worked, but there's something that's fitter for the purpose. And when there's something fitter for the purpose, you go for the fitter one. So let's quickly get the slightly less exciting design all constructed. There it is in all of its glory, and I've got to say it's actually pretty cool. You know, it's quite a cool looking system. I'm liking the target blocks on the top. I'm liking the target block game mechanics. Everything seems to be working nicely there. So if I give this thing an extra tester, I don't actually have any concrete powder on me. I'm using hardened concrete. You're just going to have to imagine that it's being converted by the water here. But you can see if we just run this through, it is all being pushed downwards. And it is all being exploded by the TNT, and then it is all dropping into the water stream. So everything is working perfectly. The only thing that isn't working so perfectly is the fact that my hoppers are currently overflowing from all of my tree farm drops. But that's thanks to this ridiculously efficient farm. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with this setup. I'm pretty pleased with this setup. I'm pretty pleased with this setup. And I'm pretty pleased with everything that we started the episode with in terms of cleaning up the base and actually getting that thing done. This has been a jammed episode. It's been a proper fun episode. It's been like a proper Hermitcraft episode with tons upon tons of industrial building, redstone stuff. We've gone the whole 9 yards. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Now, I was this close to immediately logging out just then, which would have totally blown up everything. And that would have been a really bad end to a really good day. I've had so much fun recording this Minecraft episode. This has been a blast. This is the sort of stuff that I really enjoy. Just geeking out over silly technical bits and just having fun with redstone and farms and things.